My child, this cannot wait. You are on the verge of losing everything, and most people won't realize it until it's too late, which is why I'm speaking to you right now. I did not interrupt your moment by accident, and I did not allow these words to reach you casually, because the ground beneath you is shifting even though your eyes cannot yet see it. I am urgently calling to you. You feel a strange pull in your chest right now, a pressure that tells you this is different, heavier, more serious than the countless voices you scroll past every day. That is because this moment is not noise. This is rescue. This is mercy reaching for you before the fall, before the silence, before regret settles in like a weight you cannot lift. Don't think this message will come back to you. Do not tell yourself you can come back later, or that you will listen when you have more time, more clarity, more energy. I gave you permission to see this once because this is your chance to escape, and 99% of them will disregard it without realizing what they are avoiding. They will shrug, they will doubt, they will mock the urgency, and they will continue as if nothing was said. But you, my child, know that something is pressing in on your spirit because you feel it, something that will not wait for comfort or convenience. This is the window I have opened for you. Additionally, windows do not always remain open. Some close quietly without warning, and those who hesitated only realize it when the air changes and the opportunity is gone. If you leave now, you will convince yourself it was nothing. You will say it was just another message, just another voice, just another emotional moment. You will distract yourself, fill your mind with lesser things, and silence the unease by staying busy. But later, when the loss comes, when something precious slips from your hands, when peace disappears and confusion takes its place, you will remember this moment. You will remember that I tried to warn you. You'll remember exactly how you felt right now. The sense that you should have stayed, listened, responded. I do not say this to threaten you. I say it because I love you enough to tell you the truth before the consequences arrive. I am desperately trying to save you, not to scare you, but because what is coming will expose who listened and who did not. A time is approaching when comfort will no longer hide emptiness, when routine will no longer protect you from collapse, and when excuses will no longer shield you from the results of delay.
Understand this, my child. When a fire is approaching, love does not whisper. Love doesn't wait for a better time when danger is near. Love speaks up not out of rage, but out of a desperate need to protect. I would rather unsettle you now than watch you suffer later. I'd rather disturb your tranquility than address your regret. You've prayed for guidance. You have pleaded with me to speak and asked for clarity. And now that I am speaking plainly, the temptation will be to doubt, to question, to minimize. Do not make the mistake of demanding a sign and then ignoring it, because it does not come, wrapped in the form you expected. This is the answer. This is the warning. This is the lifeline extended before the fall. If you want to be safe in the future, there are things you need to stop doing, things you need to start doing, and things you need to let go of right away. Delay will feel harmless until it becomes costly. Until it becomes a pattern, disobedience will appear insignificant. Until it becomes empty, indifference will feel peaceful. You still have time to make a different choice. Turn, realign, and return to safety. So I'm calling you now. Type I am fully covered by your grace if you believe he's your unfailing protector. Do not assume you are exempt. Do not believe that because nothing has collapsed yet, nothing will. The same thought was shared by many. They felt secure right up until the moment everything changed. Security without obedience is an illusion. Peace without truth is fragile. I want more for you than survival. I want preservation, restoration, and life in fullness. But those things require listening. When I speak, especially when my voice carries urgency, you may feel fear rising as you listen. That fear is not from me, but the awareness that something matters more than you realized. Rather than paralyzing you, let that awareness sharpen you. Let it move you toward action, not denial. I am not calling you to despair. I'm calling you to wake up. I am calling you to choose wisely while you still can. Stay with me. Do not scroll away. Do not close your heart. Do not talk yourself out of obedience. This moment was arranged with precision, and it carries weight because your future is involved. What you do with this warning will echo forward in ways you cannot yet see. I am giving you this chance because I love you, because I see what lies ahead, and because I refuse to remain silent while there is still hope. Now listen. Now pay attention. Respond now. This can't be put off. Listen to me now, child. Not later. Not when you feel calmer. Not when you feel ready, not when life slows down and gives you permission. This message is here because the time you think you have left isn't as long as it used to be. I am not speaking to you from a distance, and I am not speaking casually. I am leaning into this moment with urgency because something has shifted, and silence will no longer protect you the way it once did. What you have ignored before, you can no longer afford to overlook. What you delayed before, you can no longer safely postpone. I am speaking now because the narrowing has begun, and every choice you make from this point forward carries more weight than you realize. You must understand this clearly. Time has narrowed. Doors that once stayed open without effort are beginning to close quietly. Opportunities that lingered are now moving. The season where you could remain undecided without consequence is ending. I am not saying this to alarm you, but to awaken you. There was a time when hesitation was absorbed by grace, when patience provided a cushion for uncertainty. That season is fading. Not because I am less merciful, but because what is ahead requires clarity, alignment, and response. I cannot carry you forward while you stand still pretending nothing is changing. This message exists now because what is coming will not wait for you to feel comfortable. It will not pause while you gather courage. If you choose distraction over obedience, it will not slow down to match your speed. I see the path ahead with perfect clarity, and I see where delay leads. I see where silence leads. I see what happens when you scroll past warnings and call them exaggeration. That's why I'm here now. That is why I have pierced through your routine and interrupted your moment. This is not coincidence. This is not luck. This is mercy reaching you before consequences do. You did not find this message by accident. Algorithms did not lead you here. These words were not thrown at you by chance. I allowed you to see this because I am extending protection, not punishment, rescue, not condemnation. You are here because you are willing to feel the weight of the truth when it presses against your heart, not because you are superior to others. Many saw the same moment and passed it by. Many felt the nudge and silenced it. Many sensed urgency and drowned it out with noise. But you listened for long enough. Alone tells me something about you. You not mistake mercy for harmlessness. Mercy warns. Mercy comes in. Mercy raises its voice when danger is near. If you ignore mercy, you do not avoid consequences. You only delay awareness of them. Danger does not go away when you distract yourself. Results are not altered by delay. The current state cannot be reset by scrolling away. What you do with this warning will matter, even if you try to forget it. Truth has a way of returning, often at a higher cost than before. You have believed that staying quiet would keep you safe. You have thought that avoiding confrontation, avoiding decision, avoiding response would preserve peace. However, remaining silent will no longer protect you. In the season ahead, silence will be interpreted as consent. Neutrality will no longer shield you. You will begin to be addressed by what you refuse to address. What you refuse to confront will grow. What you avoid now will demand attention later, often in harsher ways. I am calling you before that happens. I see how easy it would be for you to leave right now. I understand the urge to minimize, scroll, and pretend that this isn't all that serious. When the truth feels heavy, I know how quickly the mind looks for an escape. However, keep in mind that leaving right now is not a neutral action. There is a choice. Leave. Ignorance is a choice. A delay indicates a course. Every movement of your attention either draws you closer to safety or further from it. In these kinds of situations, there is no stopping. You are standing in a narrower space now, which is why this music message exists. Two paths are still available, but not for long. One path leads to alignment, protection, clarity, and life. The other leads to slow erosion, confusion, and loss you will not see coming until it arrives. I don't overstate it. I am not dramatizing. I am telling you what I see from a vantage point you do not have. My love for you is the reason I refuse to soften this. Please support our channel. Our work is focused on bringing happiness into your life and helping you grow in devotion to God. If you wish music to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. You have been telling yourself there is more time. You have been saying later when things settle, later when I have strength, later when I understand more. But later is becoming a dangerous word. Later has already cost you things you did not notice slipping away. Sensitivity, the beast, focus, discernment, hunger for truth. These do not disappear suddenly. They fade when urgency is ignored. And I will not allow you to drift further without warning you plainly. Seeing this message is mercy because I am still giving you the chance to choose differently. Mercy because I am still offering clarity before confusion deepens. Mercy because I am still calling your name before the noise drowns it out completely. Mercy because some consequences can still be prevented if you respond now. Do not despise this mercy by treating it lightly. Don't confuse permission with patience. You are not being singled out to be frightened. You are being singled out to be protected. I see pressures forming around you. I see a tightening of influences. I see patterns trying to reassert control. I see the enemy counting on your fatigue, your distraction, your tendency to postpone what feels uncomfortable. Additionally, the cost of removing you will be greater if I wait to intervene. I'd rather warn you right away than have to rescue you in agony later. This is why distraction matters. This is why delay matters. This is why scrolling away matters. Because moments like this are not repeated endlessly. When truth knocks and is ignored, it does not always knock again in the same way. Sometimes it returns louder.
Sometimes it returns through loss. It sometimes comes back with pain. That is not what I want for you. I want you to respond while response is still gentle. You might start to resist more and more. You may experience anxiety, irritability, doubt, or even annoyance. This does not imply that it is not mine. When the truth threatens to break patterns that once seemed safe but were slowly destroying you, the strongest resistance frequently arises. Comfort does not equal safety. Familiar does not equal good. Silence does not equal peace. I'm calling you out of your false tranquility and into real safety. Listen carefully. The next phase of your life will be shaped by what you do after hearing this. Not dramatically in appearance at first, but deeply in effect. Alignment now will save you from loss later. Obedience now will spare you confusion later. Paying attention now will keep you from making mistakes later. I am not asking for perfection. I am asking for response. I am not requiring complete comprehension. I am asking that you trust me enough to stay, to listen, to not turn away when it matters most. This message is here right now because the time demands it. The narrowing has begun. The margins are getting smaller. There is less room for indifference, and I love you too much to let you pass through this moment unaware. Stay with me. Let me finish speaking. While the path is still visible, allow me to direct you. This is saving. This is mercy. And it is happening now, because it is still important now. My child, I need you to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. You don't know how close you are to breaking down. And the danger is not loud, not dramatic, not violent. Because of this, you haven't noticed it. You are not directly on the brink of obvious disaster. You are standing in the still erosion that occurs when discernment and vigilance become less sharp. This is not about your body failing or your life visibly falling apart. This is about something far more subtle and far more dangerous. The quiet drifting away from the place, where you once clearly heard me and responded quickly. The gradual weakening of your inner life, and the gradual numbing of your heart. You have assumed that because nothing is visibly broken, everything ought to be okay. You wake up, you function, you complete your routines, you meet expectations, and you call this stability. However, alignment without stability is unstable. Truth without comfort is deceptive. There is a kind of peace that does not even remotely resemble peace. Only the absence of conflict due to the fact that nothing significant is being questioned. You have been resting in that peace, and it has cost you more than you know. The danger you face is invisible because it does not announce itself. It does not suddenly appear in your life, it settles in.
It says softly, "You're fine." It says in the music that there is no hurry when you are gradually losing sensitivity, while your calling is being delayed and your purpose is being dulled. This is stated to be normal, while your hunger for me is shrinking and your tolerance for compromise is growing. This is how collapse begins, not with disaster but with comfort. I see how routine has wrapped itself around you like a blanket. The same patterns, the same habits, the same distractions, the same ways of numbing discomfort. You tell yourself that this is normal life and the way things are right now. But routine has become a hiding place and comfort has become a sedative. You no longer notice what you once would have felt immediately. Conviction has softened into mild discomfort. Discernment has faded into vague unease. Where you once responded quickly, you now delay. Where you once obeyed, you now negotiate. This is not because you are evil or rebellious. It is because you are tired and the enemy knows how to exploit fatigue. He does not need to push you into obvious sin. He only needs to keep you comfortable enough to stay passive. Music. He does not need to destroy you in one moment. He is content to slowly, discreetly, and piece by piece steal from you while you are unaware of the loss. Understand this clearly. The enemy steals quietly because nobody notices it. He does not arrive in disorder when silence suffices. He does not bring storms when sleep is more effective. He dulls your urgency. He blurs your focus. He convinces you that nothing is wrong because nothing feels urgent. And while you rest, Herodotus, you are closer to spiritual collapse than you think because your discernment has been numbed. You no longer sense danger the way you once did. You no longer feel the sharp check in your spirit. When something is off, you rationalize what you should resist. You tolerate what you should confront. You put off things you should do right away. This is not growth. This is drift. You are closer to emotional collapse than you realize because you have learned to manage pain instead of healing it. You keep yourself busy. You keep yourself occupied. You soothe yourself with temporary comforts. But unresolved wounds do not disappear. They wait. They leak into your relationships, your decisions, your reactions. You find that you react more than you respond, that you withdraw more than you engage, and that you feel numb where you used to feel alive. This is not peace. This is self-defense disguised as strength. False peace has replaced genuine connection, and as a result, you are closer to relationship collapse than you realize. You avoid difficult conversations. You suppress truth to keep harmony. You choose silence to avoid discomfort. However, avoidant relationships slowly deteriorate internally. What is not addressed becomes resentment. What is not spoken becomes distance. What is not healed becomes a barrier. You pretend is not there, and one day, the gap is too wide to cross without pain. You are closer to destiny collapse than you realize, because delay has become a habit. You know there are things I have called you to do, actions that you have been urged to take, changes you have been urged to make, but you keep telling yourself you will respond when the time feels right. Meanwhile, the fire that once burned brightly has dimmed. Nostalgia has replaced enthusiasm. Vision has faded into memory. Destiny does not vanish overnight. It fades when it is ignored. This is how everything is stolen solely, not by force but by consent, not by attack but by apathy, by comfort, not resentment. The enemy does not need you to reject me. He only needs you to delay me. He does not need you to turn away. He only needs you to stop moving forward. I see how you have mistaken calm for safety. You have told yourself that because nothing dramatic is happening, nothing dangerous is happening. However, the least obvious threats frequently pose the greatest danger. A body does not collapse because of one missed breath, but because of long-term neglect. A Rohim who changed his clothes, not a single crack causes a structure to collapse. A soul does not collapse because of one decision, but because of 1,000 small compromises justified as harmless. You have become accustomed to living just below your capacity. You have accepted a variant of life that functions but does not flourish. You remember what it felt like to be sharp, alive, responsive, deeply connected. You vaguely recall it like something from a different season. Additionally, you normalize that loss rather than mourning it. This is just maturity, adulthood, and reality, you told yourself. But it is not. It is a warning sign. The invisible danger is that you no longer notice what you are losing. Sensitivity to my voice, a quick repentance, boldness to obey, hunger for truth, joy that is not dependent on circumstances. These things do not vanish loudly. They fade quietly while you remain busy surviving. Say the Lord himself is my mighty shield if he's guarding every corner of your heart. I am not speaking to shame you. I'm speaking to wake you. You are not beyond rescue, but you are closer to loss than you think. And the longer you remain comfortable, the harder it becomes to recognize danger. That is why I'm interrupting you now. That is why I am speaking plainly, because if this continues unchecked, the collapse will not feel sudden to you. It will feel confusing you. Will wake up one day and wonder how you got so far from where you started. Do not underestimate the power of small neglect. Do not assume that because you are not falling apart, you are safe. You could be productive but still drift. You can be stable and still be eroding. You can be calm and still be in danger. I want you to see what is happening before it costs you more. I want you to recognize the quiet strategies at work against you. I want you to understand that comfort has numbed you. Routine has dulled you, and false peace has lulled you. But awareness is the first step back to safety. Light exposes what silence hides. Here you are not helpless, but you must stop mistaking stillness for security. You must stop equating absence of crisis with health. You need to stop thinking that slow loss is okay. I am calling you now because this is the moment when collapse can still be prevented, when erosion can still be addressed, when discernment can still be restored. Listen to me. Stay alert. Do not dismiss this as exaggeration. This is love telling you the truth while there is still time to respond. My child, I will tell you plainly why most will ignore this message, even as it speaks directly to their condition, even as it reaches them at the exact moment they need it. They did not miss the message. It is because hearing requires humility, and humility is costly. Prior to the truth's conclusion, pride shuts its ears. Pride convinces the heart that warnings are meant for someone else. That urgency is exaggeration. That correction is unnecessary. I am fine even when the foundation is cracking, says pride. And so many will dismiss this message not because it lacks truth, but because it threatens the image they have built of themselves as self-sufficient, in control, and above correction. Disbelief will also blind them. Not disbelief in my existence, but rather disbelief in the fact that I continue to intervene, issue warnings, and speak urgently. They have grown accustomed to treating my words as concepts instead of commands, inspiration music instead of instruction. They believe truth should always feel gentle, never confrontational, never demanding. When truth arrives with weight, when it presses instead of comforts, they label it extreme, manipulative, or unnecessary. Disbelief allows them to distance themselves emotionally while convincing themselves. They are still spiritually aware. Many people won't listen fully because they are afraid of change. They sense deep within that if they take this message seriously, something will have to shift. Something will need to be surrendered. A habit, a relationship, a pattern, a false sense of safety, and fear rises at the thought of losing what is familiar, even if it is slowly destroying them. They'd rather have predictable suffering than unknowable freedom. They would rather remain trapped in known discomfort than step into transformation that requires trust, so they close their hearts, not because they do not understand, but because they are afraid of what obedience would cost them. Addiction to comfort is one of the strongest forces, keeping people from responding to divine urgency. Comfort dulls awareness. It convinces the soul that nothing must change as long as life remains manageable.
Even when that piece is false. Comfort teaches people to avoid anything that disturbs it. They scroll past discomfort. They mute conviction. They surround themselves with voices that affirm rather than challenge. And when a message like this comes their way, it puts their very sense of security in jeopardy. So they reject it not because it is wrong, but because it is inconvenient. Most people are unaware of how deep their resistance to change goes. Correction requires acknowledgement of error, and acknowledgement threatens ego. Many would rather reinterpret truth than repent. They prefer to debate rather than obey. They'd rather analyze the message than put it into practice. They look for flaws, tone issues, reasons to discredit, anything that allows them to remain unchanged while feeling justified. Those who do not yet comprehend that correction is actually protection experience it as loss. This is why ignoring divine urgency has always been humanity's greatest downfall. From the beginning, people have ignored warnings because they did not align with their desires. Because they perceived judgment to be far off, they discounted urgency. Due to the delay in receiving consequences, they delayed obedience. They interpreted silence as absence and patience as approval. Additionally, history, music repeated itself repeatedly. The pattern never changes. Warning comes, delay follows, consequences arrive, and regret comes too late to prevent loss. My child, understand this clearly. Ignoring truth does not stop consequences. It only postpones awareness of them. You cannot scroll past reality. You cannot delay outcomes indefinitely. Without cussing, you cannot silence the truth. The consequences of ignoring divine urgency are not always immediate, which is why so many are deceived. They believe that nothing will happen because nothing happened immediately. However, consequences are not always immediate. It often builds up over time. It builds slowly, one layer at a time, until the weight is too much to ignore. Many will ignore this message because they believe they are exempt. They believe that the broken, immoral, and obvious failures merit warnings. They are unaware of the fact that those who appear to be stable, productive, and successful frequently pose the greatest threat. Pride convinces them they are above collapse. Comfort convinces them they are safe. Routine convinces them they are grounded, and all the while your ocean continues unseen.
Others will ignore this message because it threatens their narrative. They have constructed an unquestionable version of themselves. They have spent years explaining away their delays, defending their compromises, and justifying their choices, accepting that some of those choices were incorrect, that some delays were costly, and that some compromises were risky would be necessary to listen now. That realization is painful, and many would rather protect their narrative than their future. Some people will disregard this message because they are spiritually, not physically, worn out. They are weary of introspection, weary of conviction, weary of being called higher. They will not rest, but rather than surrender, they seek it through avoidance. Numbness is mistaken for peace, and disengagement is mistaken for healing. Additionally, they perceive urgency as a burden rather than a lifeline when it reaches them. They are unaware that ignoring the call will exacerbate their fatigue. Because they are distracted, others will disregard it. Their attention is fragmented, their minds overloaded, their hearts divided. They have trained themselves to consume quickly, react briefly, and move on immediately. They are uncomfortable with sustained focus, deep reflection, or prolonged conviction. A message like this requires stillness, honesty, and courage. Distraction offers escape from all three. Some will ignore it because they fear being wrong, admitting that they should have listened sooner, acted earlier, or changed courses uncomfortable. It challenges their self-image as wise, discerning, and aware, so they choose denial over humility. They tell themselves they will address it later. When they can, music, do so without admitting error. However, this rarely occurs. My child, do not follow the pattern of the many. Truth has never been embraced by the majority. Those who gain from delay have always shunned urgency. The majority of people will ignore this as not evidence that it is false. Rather, it is evidence that it is costly. Warnings have always been mocked until they were fulfilled. I am not asking you to judge those who ignore this. I am asking you not to join them. Learn from history instead of repeating it. Recognize the traps that prying, comfort, fear, and resistance set. Understand that truth does not adjust itself to human preference. It stands whether acknowledged or not. Type "I trust God's perfect timing" if you believe delay is only preparation, not denial. And share this video. Jesus, amen.